My life could be summed up by my work shoes. They were black, non-slip, and 3 years old. The soles were worn smooth, and the pleather was peeling at the seams, a condition I fixed every Sunday night with a tube of superglue. They were ugly. They hurt my feet, and they were the only thing standing between me and total collapse. My name is Alara. I'm 26. 5 years ago, I had a full scholarship to the Art Institute, a canvas bag full of charcoal pencils, and a future that felt bright and boundless. Now, I had a stained apron, a notepad, and a permanent scent of diner coffee and grease clinging to my hair. I was a single mother. My world, my entire universe, was a 5-year-old boy named Leo. Leo was my sunshine. He had my eyes and my love for drawing, but he had a spirit that was all his own, bright and unbroken. He was the reason I got up for these 12-hour double shifts. He was the reason I endured the casual cruelty of my manager, Steve, and the ache in my arches that felt like walking on broken glass. Everything was for him. The cramped, one-bedroom apartment with the leaky radiator. The daycare I couldn't really afford. The 72-pack of colored pencils he stared at in the store window every week. The one I kept promising soon. Soon, baby, I'd say, my heart aching. As soon as Mommy gets a good tips week. But soon was a luxury I couldn't afford. My rent was 3 days late. Again. Tonight was a Friday. The Starlight Diner was descending into its usual chaotic hum. The air was thick with the smell of burnt coffee, sizzling bacon, and the faint, sweet perfume of the high schoolers flirting in the corner booth. My manager, Steve, a man whose face was permanently locked in a sneer, cornered me by the POS system. "Ilara!" he snapped, his voice cutting through the din. "Table 7's coffee cup is empty." "Empty? What do I pay you for? To stand around looking pathetic?" I flinched, my eyes dropping to his name tag. "Sorry, Steve. I was just taking table 4's order." "I don't care. Juggle, Ilara. Learn to juggle. Or I'll find someone who can." He shoved a heavy, scalding coffee pot into my hand. "And try to smile. You're scaring the customers." I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted copper. I couldn't afford to be fired. Leo was waiting for me. I plastered on the fake, brittle smile I perfected and turned. That's when the bell above the diner door jingled. My heart didn't just drop. It seized, froze, and then plummeted into my worn-out, glued-together shoes. It was him. Mark, my ex-husband, Leo's father, the man who, 2 weeks after I joyfully told him I was pregnant, had emptied our small joint savings account and vanished. He'd left me with an eviction notice, 2 months back rent, and a tiny, flickering life growing inside me. He wasn't alone. His arm was wrapped possessively around the waist of Brenda, a woman whose platinum blonde hair was sprayed into a rigid helmet. Her perfume hit me from 10 feet away, a cloud of aggressive, expensive florals. Her cherry-red acrylic nails tapped impatiently on her phone. Mark had landed on his feet, or more accurately, in a rich woman's lap. My blood ran cold. I ducked behind the coffee machine, praying, "Please don't sit in my section. Please, God, don't let them sit in my section." The hostess, a high schooler named Jenny, smiled brightly at them. "Table for 2. "Yes," Mark said, his voice dripping with a slick, false confidence I remembered all too well. He scanned the room, his eyes passing right over me, then snapping back. A cruel, slow smile spread across his face. "Ah, you know what? Right over there would be perfect." He pointed directly at booth 4, the center of my section. I felt the blood drain from my face. I couldn't move. Steve saw my hesitation and shoved me hard from behind. "What are you waiting for, Alara? Go serve your tables. We have a full house. Move." My legs felt like lead. I grabbed 2 menus, the laminated edges sticky. Each step toward them felt like wading through wet cement. The fake smile was cracking my face. "Welcome to the Starlight Diner," I said, my voice a thin, reedy whisper. "Can I get you started with?" Well, Mark interrupted, leaning back in the booth so everyone could see him. He looked me up and down, his gaze lingering on a small ketchup stain on my apron. "Look at this, Brenda, baby. It's my ex. Still working in this dump." He said dump loud enough for the tables around us to hear. Brenda giggled. A high-pitched, mocking sound. "Oh, Mark, you're terrible. Is this the one you told me about? The one with the you-know?" She waved her hand vaguely. "The baggage." Baggage. She meant my son. She meant Leo. "The one and only," Mark said, not even looking at me, speaking to Brenda as if I were a piece of furniture. She really let herself go, didn't she? All that potential. Wasted. I just stood there, my notepad clutched in my hand. "Can I take your order?" "I'll have the lobster," Brenda announced, tapping her long, red nail on the menu. "And a bottle of your most expensive champagne." Dumb. I almost laughed. "Ma'am, this is a diner. Our special is meatloaf, and our most expensive champagne is Cook's." Brenda wrinkled her nose in theatrical disgust. "Ugh. Fine. Just bring me a Diet Coke. And make sure the glass is clean. I don't want to catch whatever it is you have." I wrote Diet Coke, my hand shaking with a mixture of rage and humiliation. "And for you, sir?" "I'm still deciding," Mark said slowly, savoring this. He wanted to draw it out. "You know, Alara, you should really fix your shoes. It's just pathetic. People are trying to eat here. It's unappetizing." Before I could answer, before I could shatter into a million pieces, the bell jingled again. This time, the entire diner went silent. It wasn't a gradual hush. It was instantaneous, as if someone had sucked all the air and sound out of the room. The clatter of plates in the kitchen stopped. The bubblegum pop music, playing over the speakers, seemed to fade. Steve, who had been yelling at another waitress, froze with his mouth hanging open. A man stepped inside. He was tall, impossibly so. He wore a black suit so perfectly tailored. It looked like it had been stitched from shadows directly onto his body. It was a stark, severe black. Black suit, black shirt, black tie. No color, except for the glint of a silver watch on his wrist, and a small, onyx pin on his lapel. He wasn't handsome in the way movie stars are. He was beautiful in the way a coming storm is beautiful. In the way a panther is beautiful. Dangerous. His hair was jet black, slicked back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble by an angry god. High cheekbones, a strong jaw that looked like it could break stone, and eyes. His eyes were the color of dark, old whiskey, and they missed nothing. He was flanked by two other men in similar suits, but they were just copies. He was the original. They were shadows, but he was the darkness they were cast from. This was Dante the Shadow Moretti. I didn't read the society pages, but you didn't have to. Every person in the city, from the mayor down to the men sleeping under the bridge, knew that name. He owned the city, not the politicians, not the police. Him. The Moretti family crest was rumored to be on half the buildings downtown. He was a myth, a ghost story parents told their kids to make them behave. Except he was real. And he was standing in the Starlight Diner. Jenny, the hostess, looked like she was about to faint. She was visibly trembling, her clipboard rattling against her leg. "Tea table 4, she squeaked. 3, Dante Moretti's voice rumbled. It was low, laced with an Italian accent that was as smooth as velvet and as hard as steel. "Oh, of course, Mr. Moretti. Right this way. Our best booth, the corner." Jenny started to lead him to the plush corner booth, the one we saved for big parties. He held up a hand, a single, elegant gesture. "No." His dark, whiskey-colored eyes scanned the room. They passed over the cowering families, the frozen staff, and then they landed on me. He didn't just look at me. He looked through me. For a split second, I felt like he could see everything. The glued-together shoes, the late rent, the fear, the shame, the fierce, desperate love for my son. He saw all of it. Then he pointed, a single finger, aimed not at the best booth, but at the worst. "We will sit there." He was pointing to table 13. My section, the small, wobbly two-top right next to the swinging kitchen doors. The one everyone hated. It was directly adjacent to Mark and Brenda's booth. Steve practically teleported to my side. "Ilara," he hissed, his face pale and slick with sweat. "Don't screw this up. Do you understand me? Don't say anything stupid, or I will end you." You get me? Yes, Steve. I walked to table 13, my legs feeling like overcooked noodles. The two bodyguards didn't sit. They stood by the wall, arms crossed, their jackets bulging, watching the entire room, watching Mark. Dante Moretti sat down. The wobbly table didn't dare wobble under him. He placed his large, clean hands flat on the formica. He didn't look at the menu. He just watched me. Good evening, I stammered, my voice cracking. What can I get for you? Black coffee, he said. His voice was even quieter up close, forcing me to lean in. And for my men, water. They're fine. Right away, sir. I fled. I got his coffee, my hands shaking so badly that a single drop spilled into the saucer. I cursed under my breath, grabbing a napkin to wipe it, my fingers fumbling. I delivered it to his table, my gaze fixed on the cup. Your coffee, sir. Thank you, he said. His eyes never left my face. Is there anything else I can get you? Not yet, Alara. He said my name. A cold shock ran down my spine. My name tag. He had read my name tag. Of course. But the way he said it, it sounded like a judgment. Like a claim. I turned to go back to the kitchen, to escape his gaze. But Mark's voice cut through the tense silence like a rusted knife. Hey, Alara! We're ready to order now, he called out, obnoxiously loud. He was loving this. He was the center of attention in a room with Dante Moretti. He thought he was part of the show. I went to his booth, the humiliation returning. What would you like? I'll have the big boy steak rare, Mark said, puffing out his chest, trying to look impressive for the men at the next table. And she'll have the garden salad. No dressing. She's watching her figure. He gave Brenda's thigh a squeeze and she giggled. I can order for myself, Mark, Brenda said, then looked at me, her eyes cold. But he's right. Just the salad. And I want extra croutons. But make sure they're gluten-free. And no onions. Or tomatoes. Or carrots. Just lettuce. And the croutons. So, lettuce and croutons. I repeated, my voice deadpan. Are you deaf? That's what I said. God, you're stupid. I scribbled it down, my pencil tip snapping. Coming right up. I turned to leave. I had to pass table 13 to get to the kitchen. As I passed, I could feel Dante Moretti's gaze on my back. It wasn't hot. It was heavy, like a physical weight. The next 10 minutes were a special kind of hell. I was trapped between two tables, one filled with my humiliating past, the other with a terrifying, unknown present. I brought Mark a steak. He immediately cut into it, the juice pooling on the plate. This is medium rare, not rare, he shouted, throwing his napkin on the table. The sudden noise made two people at another table jump. Are you an idiot? Look at this. It's brown. Take it back. I looked at the steak. It was a perfect blood red. Sir, that is definitely rare. Are you arguing with me? You, a waitress, arguing with a customer, he sneered. Just do your job, you pathetic. He stopped. He'd been about to say something else. I saw his eyes flick nervously to table 13. Dante Moretti was sipping his coffee, seemingly paying no attention. But the silence from his table, from his men, was louder than Mark's shouting. Just take it back, Mark muttered, his bravado shrinking. I took the plate. I went to the kitchen. The chef, a burly man named Sal who I usually got along with, looked at the steak. What's wrong with this? It's a perfect F***king rare. He says it's not rare enough. Sal cursed, a string of Italian I was glad Leo wasn't here to hear. He threw the steak back on the grill for exactly 10 seconds, searing the outside. Here, tell him if he wants it rarer, he can go bite the cow. I took a deep breath. I picked up the salad and the re-seared steak. My arms were starting to tremble from stress. And then Steve, my manager, added one more thing. Table 9, soup, he barked, slamming 2 heavy, ceramic bowls of scalding hot French onion soup onto my tray. The cheese was bubbling over the sides. And hurry! They're complaining about the weight. My tray was now dangerously unbalanced. It was heavy, and the bowls were sliding. Steve, I don't think I can. I don't pay you to think, Alara. I pay you to carry. Now go. I nodded, my arms straining. My shoulder throbbed. I threaded my way through the diner. I just had to get a table 9. I had to pass Mark's booth. I was almost clear. My shoulder was past his. I was focused on the soup, on keeping the tray level, on not dropping $30 worth of food that would come out of my paycheck. And then I saw it, out of the corner of my eye. Mark's foot. He stuck it out, fast and deliberate, right into my path. It was in slow motion. My ankle connected with his. The tray pitched forward. The hot soup, the steak, the salad, the heavy ceramic. Everything went airborne. I didn't scream. I just closed my eyes, bracing for the crash, for the scalding, searing pain of the soup on my skin, for the sound of shattering porcelain, for Steve's inevitable, world-ending scream of rage. I braced for the end of my job, the end of my rent, the end of everything. It never came. I felt a sudden, electric jolt. An arm, hard as steel, wrapped around my waist from behind, yanking me back with breathtaking, impossible force. At the exact same instant, a large, impossibly fast hand shot out under my falling tray. I opened my eyes. I was pressed back against a chest that felt like a brick wall. My back was flush against his hard, expensive suit. I could smell him, cedar and expensive cologne, and something clean and sharp, like ozone before a storm. Dante Moretti was holding me with one arm, and with his other hand, he was holding the entire, massive, unbalanced tray. Perfectly level. He had caught it. He'd caught me. He caught the tray. And not a single, scalding drop of soup had spilled. He hadn't even stood up all the way. He'd done it from a seated position, moving with a speed that didn't seem human. The diner was so quiet you could hear the neon sign humming outside. Mark was staring, his mouth wide open. He started to laugh, a high-pitched, nervous cackle. Wow. Nice catch. And nice fall, Alara. Still as clumsy as ever, huh? Tripping over your own huge feet. Dante Moretti looked at me. His whiskey-colored eyes were soft for just 1 second. "Are you all right, Kara?" he murmured, his voice for my ears only. I was too shocked to speak. I just nodded, my hair brushing his chin. He gently, slowly, set the tray down on his own table. Then he helped me stand upright, his hand lingering on my waist for a beat longer than necessary, as if to steady me. Then he turned. He didn't look at Mark. He looked down at him. The temperature in the diner dropped 20 degrees. "You," Dante said. His voice was no longer velvet. It was gravel and ice. "You tripped her." It wasn't a question. It was a death sentence. "What?" "No, I didn't." Mark stammered, his face instantly pale. "It was an accident. She's a klutz. She just fell. Ask anyone. Ask her." Brenda was sinking into her seat, trying to become invisible. Dante took one slow step toward their booth. His 2 bodyguards, who had been shadows, suddenly materialized at his shoulders, blocking the exits. They were no longer passive. They were engines, idling. "She is telling the truth, Mr. Moretti," Steve stammered, rushing over, wringing his hands. "This employee, Alara, she's very clumsy, always dropping things. A total liability. In fact, she's fired. You see. Fired. Problem solved." I flinched. Fired. That was it. I was done. Leo's pencils. Dante raised his hand again, palm out. Steve stopped talking, his mouth snapping shut. Dante's gaze was locked on Mark. Mark, who was now visibly shaking. "I saw your foot," Dante said, his voice a lethal purr. "You did it on purpose." It was a joke." Mark babbled, sweat beading on his forehead. "Just a harmless joke." "A joke," Dante repeated. "You embarrassed her. You tried to hurt her. And you laughed." Dante leaned in, placing his hands on Mark's table. Mark flinched as if he'd been struck. "Apologize," Dante commanded. "I what?" "Apologize." Mark looked at me, his eyes full of pure, unadulterated hatred and fear. Sorry," he spat out, the word thick with resentment. Dante Moretti shook his head slowly. "Not good enough." He looked at me, standing there trembling, in my stained apron and glue-together shoes. Then he looked back at Mark. The entire restaurant held its breath. Then he said the words that shattered my world, and rebuilt it in the same second. "Apologize again," Dante Moretti ordered, his voice echoing in the dead silence. "This time do it properly. Apologize to my future wife." There was a collective gasp. I heard a tray of glasses shatter in the kitchen. Steve, my manager, actually made a small choking sound. His eyes rolled back, and he slumped against the wall. Fainting in a heap, Brenda's jaw was on the floor. Mark's face went from pale to a sickly, greenish white. He looked like he was going to be sick. You're what? He stammered, his voice a high-pitched squeak. My wife, Dante repeated, as calmly as if he were ordering more coffee. He turned his gaze to me. It was intense, possessive, and was that a flicker of amusement in his dark eyes? He was offering me an anchor in the middle of my world-ending storm. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there, my heart hammering against my ribs, so hard I thought it might break. She's a waitress, Mark spluttered. And you, Dante said, his voice soft again, which was somehow more terrifying, are a coward. You have 5 seconds to apologize to her correctly. Before my friend, he gestured to the mountain of a man on his left, teaches you how to eat your steak through a straw for the rest of your life. I'm sorry, Mark shrieked, scrambling to get out of the booth, knocking over his water glass. I'm so sorry, Alara. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Please. Good, Dante said, not even looking at him again. He turned to the other bodyguard. Angelo, get their information, their bill, and every other bill this man has. Send it to my office. He will be paying for everyone's meal tonight, as an apology for the disturbance. And him? Angelo asked, nodding at Mark. He can go, Dante said, his voice bored. But if I ever see him within 500 feet of Alara again, Dante's voice dropped back to that lethal whisper. I will unmake him. Am I clear? Crystal, sir. Mark whimpered. He grabbed a fumbling, speechless Brenda by the hand, and practically ran out of the diner, the bell jingling frantically behind him. The diner was silent, save for Steve's quiet moans from the floor. Dante Moretti turned to me. The menace was gone, replaced by a calm, unnerving authority. Ilara, he said. He reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a thick, black leather wallet. He dropped several $100 bills onto the table. This is for the soup. And for your trouble. I can't accept this, I whispered. My voice was shaking. It is not a request. He looked at the still-fainted Steve, then at the rest of the cowering staff. You are finished here for the night. But my job? You are fired, remember, he said. A small, ghost of a smile touched his lips. It is a blessing. You are done. He held out his hand. Come. Where? My voice was trembling. You have a child, yes? The blood drained from my face. How did you know that? I know everything about the people who interest me, Kara. He stepped closer. And you interest me. He was still holding out his hand. Your ex-husband knows where you live, does he not? He knows where your son sleeps. I nodded, my throat tight with a new, cold fear. That is unacceptable, Dante stated, as if it were a simple fact. You and your son will not be safe tonight. That man is a rat, and rats get desperate. You will come with me. I can't just go with you. I don't even know you. You know my name, he said simply. And you know that I just saved you. From a future of serving men like that. He gestured to the door Mark had fled through. I am offering you something better. Security. A fresh start. I am offering you my protection. In exchange for what? I asked, my voice barely audible. Pretending to be your. His dark eyes glittered. My future wife. And yes, for now, that is the arrangement. A simple, clean transaction. You give me your time, you play a part, and I give you the world, and I will keep you and your son safe from every monster that lurks in the dark, including men like him. I looked at his outstretched hand. It was large, the fingers long and elegant, but it was a hand that held power I couldn't comprehend. It was a lifeline, a terrifying, dangerous lifeline, but it was the only one I had. I thought of Leo, sleeping at his babysitter's house. I thought of the 72-pack of colored pencils. I thought of my glue-together shoes and my 3 days late rent. I took a deep, shuddering breath, and I placed my small, trembling, waitress-worn hand into the large, warm, and lethally capable hand of Dante Moretti. Good girl, he murmured. He tucked my hand into the crook of his arm, and As if he owned the place, which he probably did. He led me out of the Starlight Diner. He didn't look back. I took one last look at the tables, the coffee pot, my fainted boss, and the wreckage of my old life. Dante Moretti led me out into the cold night air, where a long, black, impossibly expensive-looking car was idling at the curb. His bodyguard, Angelo, opened the back door. The car was silent, smelling of new leather and his cedar cologne. "Where are we going?" I whispered, as the car pulled smoothly into traffic. "First," Dante said, looking straight ahead, "we are going to get your son. Then we are going home." Home turned out to be a glass and steel fortress, overlooking the entire city. The car drove into a private, underground garage. We rode a silent, high-speed elevator that opened directly into his penthouse. My apartment could have fit into his foyer. It was vast, minimalist, and terrifying. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city lights, glittering like a carpet of diamonds below. The furniture was all black leather and dark wood and glass. There was no clutter, no mail on the counter, no shoes by the door. It was as beautiful and as sterile as an art gallery. "Angelo," Dante said, unbuttoning his suit jacket, "fetch Alara's son. His name is Leo. He is at 142B Miller Street, Mrs. Petrova's daycare." My blood turned to ice. He knew. He knew my babysitter's name. "No," I said, my voice too loud in the silent room. "You can't. You'll scare her. You'll scare him." Dante turned to me. His expression was unreadable. "You think I would send him?" He nodded at the mountain of a bodyguard. "Angelo is my business associate. I am not a monster, Alara. I am not sending a soldier to retrieve a child." He touched a small panel on the wall. "Sofia, per favore." A moment later, a small, older woman in a simple black dress, her gray hair in a neat bun, entered the room. She had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. "Sofia, this is Alara. She will be staying with us," Dante said. His voice, when he spoke to the older woman, was different, softer, respectful. "Her son, Leo, is at this address. Please, go and get him. Tell the woman he is with that Alara is, handling a family emergency, and that you will care for him." "Of course, signore," Sofia said, giving me a small, warm smile. "Do not worry, dear. I have 3 grandchildren of my own. He will be safe with me." She bustled out. I was left alone with him. My heart was still pounding. You had me investigated," I whispered, wrapping my arms around my stained uniform. "I do not take chances," Dante said. He walked to a vast window and looked out at the city. I was made aware of a situation. A single mother, an artist, being harassed by her ex-husband. "Who made you aware?" He was silent for a moment. "It does not matter. I saw you. I was curious. I came to the diner tonight to see for myself. I saw more than I expected." He turned to face me. "That man, your ex, he is a rat. A pathetic, loudmouthed coward. But cowards are dangerous. He could have hurt you. He could have hurt your son. So you what? Decided to make me your fake fiancé. There is an old family, the Petrovs," he said, ignoring my question. "They are rivals. They have been looking for a weakness in my organization. A way to get to me." He paused. "And my grandfather, Antonio, is an old-fashioned man. He believes a man in my position should be married. He pressures me daily to find a wife, to produce an heir. It is tiresome." He finally looked at me, his gaze pinning me in place. "You, Alara, are the perfect solution to 2 problems. By claiming you, I protect you. As my fiancé, no one in this city will dare to touch you or your son. Mark will disappear. And you get your grandfather off your back," I finished. "Precisely," he said. "It is a clean arrangement. You and your son will live here. You will want for nothing. You will have security. All you must do is play the part. Be by my side when I ask it. And if I say no," the corner of his mouth twitched, "you are already here. And your old life, it is gone. You are fired. Your ex-husband is terrified. You have nowhere else to go that is safe. I am your only option." He was right. God, he was right. I was trapped. "What about my things?" I whispered, looking down at my uniform. "My son's things? His drawings, his stuffed rabbit." Sophia will arrange for your possessions to be collected tomorrow, he said. Tonight, she has already prepared a room for you. And for Leo. An hour later, Sophia returned. She was holding a sleeping Leo in her arms. My heart ached. He was so small, his face peaceful, his rabbit clutched in his hand. He was very brave, Signorina, Sophia whispered. I told him we were going on a surprise adventure to a castle in the sky. He liked that. I took him from her, my arms shaking with relief. His familiar weight, the smell of his hair. It was the only real thing in this insane, terrifying new world. Thank you, Sophia. I cried, holding him tight. I will show you to your rooms, she said, guiding me down a long, carpeted hallway. She opened a door. It wasn't one room. It was a suite, a beautiful bedroom painted in soft creams and blues, with a large, comfortable bed. And adjoining it, through a connecting door, was a child's room. I gasped. It was painted in bright, cheerful yellow. There was a small bed shaped like a rocket ship, and in the corner was a child-sized art easel, a small desk. And on that desk was a brand new, unopened 72-pack of colored pencils. The exact one. I turned to Sophia, my eyes wide. The signore is very thorough, she said softly. He said the boy likes to draw. I tucked Leo into the rocket ship bed. He didn't even stir. I sat on the edge, my hand on his back, and I just stared at the pencils. This man, this dangerous mafia boss, had not only investigated my babysitter, he had investigated my son's wishes. He had seen the one thing I, his mother, had failed to give him, and he had provided it without a word. I didn't know if he was a monster or a savior. Maybe, I thought, my head spinning with exhaustion. He was both. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes. I panicked for a second, disoriented in the plush bed, before the night's events came crashing back. I jumped up and ran to Leo's room. It was empty. Leo! I yelled, my heart stopping. I ran out into the main living area, and I stopped dead. Leo was sitting at the massive kitchen island, swinging his feet. He was wearing new pajamas, covered in dinosaurs. He was giggling, his mouth covered in maple syrup. Dante Moretti was standing at a massive, stainless steel stove, a spatula in his hand. He was still in his black pants and shirt from last night, but his sleeves were rolled up, revealing strong, muscular forearms, covered in intricate, dark tattoos. He makes blue pancakes, Mommy, Leo shouted, pointing at his plate. Dante made blue ones. Dante turned. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. He said you were still sleeping. He was hungry. You. I was speechless. Dante Moretti was making my son blueberry pancakes. He said you like art. Leo chattered, oblivious to the tension. I have a new room, Mommy. It's a spaceship. And I have the pencils. The good ones. Dante got them for me. He said I can draw on the walls. I did not say he could draw on the walls, Dante corrected, his voice dry, as he slid another blue pancake onto Leo's plate. I said he could draw on the paper I provided. Close enough. Leo giggled. There is a closet in your room, Dante said, not looking at me, focusing on the stove. Sophia has stocked it with some essentials. We have an engagement to attend tonight. An engagement? My grandfather's 80th birthday. It is the perfect opportunity to introduce you. Introduce me? I said, my voice trembling. Dante, I can't. I'm a waitress. I don't know how to be your fiancé. I'll mess it all up. They'll know. He finally turned to me. He put the spatula down and walked over. He was so tall, he blocked out the light from the window. You will not mess it up, he said, his voice low. You will be quiet. You will stand by my side. You will wear the dress I have provided. And you will let me do the talking. The only thing you must do, Alara, is look at me as if you love me. He tilted his head. Or, if that is too difficult, look at me as if you are grateful. I flushed, the shame from the diner returning. He was right. I was grateful. He had saved me. I can do that, I whispered. Good. Now, he gestured to the closet. Go. Get ready. We leave in an hour. We are going shopping. Shopping. But you said. I said Sophia stocked it with essentials. Tonight, you are being introduced to my family. You will not look essential. You will look exquisite. The shopping trip was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. He didn't take me to a mall. He took me to a private, appointment-only salon. A massive, opulent room, run by a severe-looking woman named Genevieve. Dante, she said, kissing the air by his cheeks. And this must be the one. She needs a dress. For tonight. For Antonio's party, Dante said. Ah, Genevieve's eyes swept over me, taking in my worn-out jeans and t-shirt. My only civilian clothes Sophia had fetched. I see. A blank canvas. A very blank canvas. Leave her with me. For 3 hours I was poked, prodded, and pinned. They brought dress after dress. No, Dante said from a chair in the corner, where he'd been sipping an espresso. Too young. No. Too loud. No. The color is wrong. It washes her out. He was rejecting million-dollar dresses. Finally, Genevieve brought out a dress of deep, midnight blue. It was silk, simple, elegant. It had long sleeves, a modest neckline, and it draped over my body as if it had been made for me. I looked in the mirror. I didn't recognize myself. The tired waitress was gone. In her place was a woman who looked like she belonged in a penthouse. I stepped out. Dante, who had been looking at his phone, looked up. He froze. He just stared. He didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. His whiskey-colored eyes traced the line of the dress, from my shoulder to the floor. Yes, he said, his voice slightly hoarse. That is the one. He stood up and walked over to me. He stood behind me, looking at our reflections in the mirror. He was so tall, so dark. I looked like a ghost beside him. You look beautiful, mia cara, he whispered, so low only I could hear. Then he reached into his pocket. He pulled out a black velvet box. An engagement, he said, his voice back to its normal, cool tone. Requires a ring. He opened it. I gasped. It wasn't a ring. It was a star. A massive, cushion-cut diamond that seemed to drink the light in the room and shatter it into 1,000 rainbows. It was flanked by 2 dark blue sapphires, the exact color of the dress. Dante, I can't, I whispered. It's too much. It is a prop, Alara, he said coolly, though his eyes were burning. Part of the costume. My family will expect it. Give me your hand. My hand was shaking. I held it out. He took it, his warm, calloused fingers wrapping around mine. He slid the ring onto my left hand. It was heavy. A beautiful, heavy, magnificent cage. That night, we went to his grandfather's estate. It was a sprawling mansion that made the penthouse look like a guest cottage. The party was full of dark suits and elegant dresses, people who kissed Dante's cheek and whispered capo, with a mixture of fear and reverence. I stuck to his side, my hand gripping his arm, the ring feeling like a 100-pound weight. Dante, a booming voice called. A man who looked like an older version of Dante, but with a shock of white hair and a face like a Roman bust, approached us. This was Antonio Moretti, the Don. No, Dante said, bowing his head slightly. Happy birthday. Ah, grazie, Antonio said, clapping his grandson on the back. His eyes, just as sharp as Dante's, landed on me. And who is this? Dante pulled me forward, his hand possessively on the small of my back. No, this is Alara, my fiancé. The entire room seemed to go silent. Antonio's eyes widened. He looked at me, then at the ring, then back at me. A fiancé, he boomed. And you did not tell me? Questo ragazzo. It was new, Dante said smoothly. I was waiting for the right moment to introduce her. Antonio stared at me. I felt like an insect under a microscope. She is small and quiet. Where did you find her? In a diner, Nano, a sharp, female voice cut in. A woman who looked just like Dante. Same black hair, same sharp cheekbones. Strolled over, a champagne flute in her hand. My brother, the king of the city, plucked her right out of obscurity. How democratic of him. I'm Serafina, his sister, the one who does all the real work. Serafina, be nice, Dante warned, his voice low. I am being nice, she said, her eyes raking over me. It's a lovely dress. Hides the grease stains, beautifully. I felt my face burn. I wanted to run. Serafina, Antonio said, his voice a sharp crack. Basta. Enough. The girl is with Dante. That makes her family. He turned to me. So, Alara, you are to marry my grandson. He is difficult. I am aware, sir, I whispered. Good. And you have a child, I am told. My heart stopped. He knew. Of course he knew. Yes, sir. A son. Leo. A son. Antonio's face split into a sudden, broad grin. He brings me a wife and a grandson. Dante, you work fast. He clapped Dante on the back again, laughing. A smart boy. An heir and a spare all at once. I like her. She is quiet, beautiful, and fertile. Good work. I was mortified. Dante's hand tightened on my back. She is not a broodmare, Nano, Dante said, his voice tight. Of course not. She is love. I see it. Antonio pinched my cheek, a surprisingly strong grip. Welcome to the family, child. Try not to get killed. He laughed again and walked away, booming for more wine. Serafina lingered. Well, you passed the test. He likes you. God knows why. Just know this, Alara, she said, her voice dropping. My brother is not a toy. He is a weapon. And his world, it eats little girls like you for breakfast. Stay out of my way. Stay out of the business. And you might just survive. She glided away, leaving me shaking. Dante leaned down, his lips brushing my ear. You are doing fine, Kara. Just breathe. They are a lot. They hate me, I whispered. They do not know you, he corrected. And it does not matter. They only need to respect me. And my choice. The next few weeks were a blur. I lived in the penthouse. Sophia and I became friends. She adored Leo and he adored her. He was thriving. He was drawing every day, his pictures filling the walls of his room. Dante had relented and had one wall painted, with special whiteboard paint. Dante was complicated. He was gone most of the day, running his business. But he was home every night for dinner. He and I would eat together after Leo was asleep. He would ask me about my day. He bought me an easel, canvases, the most expensive oil paints I'd ever seen. You are an artist, he said one night, finding me sketching in my notebook. You should be painting. I don't have time, I'd said. Make time, he'd replied. I am not just protecting your life, Alara. I am protecting your future. He was kind. He was gentle. He never once came to my room. Never once made me feel obligated. He was a perfect gentleman. And I was falling in love with him. I was falling for a man who had business. That required bodyguards. A man whose sister looked at me with open contempt. A man whose grandfather had appraised me like livestock. I was falling for the way he listened to Leo's long, rambling stories about dinosaurs. For the way his eyes softened when he looked at my paintings. For the way his hand on my back at a charity event felt less like a cage and more like an anchor. The arrangement was starting to feel real. Too real. And then, the past came back. I was at the penthouse, alone one afternoon. Leo was at a play date with Sophia's grandchildren. Dante was in a meeting. My new phone, a sleek black smartphone Dante had given me, buzzed. It was an unknown number. I answered. Hello. Alara? Wow. You sound expensive. My blood ran cold. Mark. Bingo. Wow, what a step up for you, huh? From the diner to the penthouse. And engaged. To Dante Moretti, no less. You really fell up, didn't you? What do you want, Mark? I said, walking to the window, my hands shaking. What do I want? What I'm owed, he sneered. See, you've got a little problem. The press would love to know that the new fiancé of the city's kingpin is a broke, clumsy waitress, wouldn't they? And that she has a secret kid? My kid. He's not your kid. I spat. You gave up that right. Possession is 9/10 of the law, Alara. And you're in possession of my son. And a whole lot of Dante Moretti's money. So here's the deal. $100,000. In cash. You put it in a bag and you bring it to me. And I disappear. Forever. I don't have $100,000. I lied. Dante had given me a credit card with no limit, but I'd never used it. Don't lie to me. You're sleeping with a billionaire mobster. Get it? Or I go to the papers. And I tell them everything. I'll tell them you're a gold digger. I'll tell them Moretti threatened me. I'll tell them he kidnapped my son. You think you're new. Fancy family wants that kind of press. He was right. I thought of Antonio. Of Serafina. This would humiliate Dante. It would prove I was nothing but trouble. Where? I whispered. At a girl. The old boat docks. Pier 4. Tonight. Midnight. Come alone. Or the deal's off, and tomorrow you're famous. He hung up. I sank to the floor. I should tell Dante. I knew I should tell Dante. He would handle it. But what if handling it meant killing him? Mark was pathetic. He was a rat. But he was Leo's father. I didn't want him dead. And I didn't want Dante to see me as this mess again. This problem he constantly had to clean up. I could handle this. I had $5,000 in cash Dante had insisted. I keep in my purse for emergencies. Maybe I could talk him down. I could give him that and beg for time. I would handle it myself. At 11:30 p.m., I waited until I heard the front door close. Dante was always in his study until 2 a.m. I slipped out of my room. I didn't take a coat. I just grabbed my purse. I bypassed the elevator. I knew the bodyguards watched it. I took the service stairs, the ones Sophia used. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. 28 flights of stairs. I emerged into the service alley, gasping for air. I held a cab, my hands shaking so hard. I could barely give the driver the address. The docks, lady. At this hour. Not safe, the driver said. Just drive, I said. He dropped me at the entrance to the piers. It was dark. The only light came from a single, flickering street lamp. The air smelled of salt and dead fish. Mark! I called out, my voice trembling. I'm here. I have some money. Ilara. So glad you could make it. Mark stepped out from behind a stack of rusted shipping containers. But he wasn't alone. Brenda! I gasped. Brenda was there, her platinum hair a mess, her face pale. And behind her were two men. Not Dante's men. These men were different. They wore cheap suits and had dead eyes. Sorry, Ilara, Mark said, not sounding sorry at all. Turns out, other people were interested in your new connection. They offered me a much better deal than $100,000. One of the men stepped forward. He had a thick, Slavic accent. Miss Ilara, you are difficult to get to. Your fiancé, he protects you well. But a rat, he gestured to Mark, always knows a way into the pantry. Who are you? My name is Ivan Petrov. Does that name mean nothing to you? Ah, he has sheltered you. How sweet. Petrov, the rival family Dante had mentioned. Mark, you sold me to them? Business, Ilara. You know. Mark shrugged. They get you. I get, well, a lot. And Brenda and I get to disappear. Win-win. Well, for us. Grab her, Ivan ordered. I screamed. I turned to run, but Mark grabbed my arm. No, you don't. I dropped my purse, my keys clattering on the pavement. I stumbled. One of the men grabbed me, his hand clamping over my mouth. The smell of stale cigarettes filling my lungs. She is pretty. I see why he hides her, Ivan mused. Put her in the car. She will be our guest. We will see how much the shadow is willing to pay. To get his little bird back. They were dragging me toward a black van. I was kicking, fighting, but it was useless. This was it. I was going to die. I was never going to see Leo again. Dante. I would let her go. The voice was not Dante's. It was calm, measured. Ivan and his men froze. They dropped me. I fell to the pavement, scraping my hands. Standing at the end of the pier, silhouetted against the single light, was Dante's bodyguard, Angelo. And beside him was Serafina, Dante's sister. She was in a black leather jacket, and she looked bored. Ivan Petrov, Serafina called out, her voice echoing over the water. You are so stupid. Did you really think my brother wouldn't put a tracker in his fiancée's ring? I looked at the ring on my hand. The beautiful, heavy cage. It was a tracker. Ivan laughed. You? He sent you? His sister? And one man? He insults me. No, Serafina said, taking a drag from a cigarette. I hadn't seen her light. He insults you, by not coming himself. He sent me to take out the trash. Kill them, Ivan ordered his men. It happened so fast. Angelo moved. He wasn't just a mountain. He was a landslide. He was on Ivan's men before they could even raise their weapons. There were two sounds, like wet thuds, and the two men dropped. Mark screamed, a high-pitched, terrified sound. Ivan pulled his own gun, but Serafina was already moving. She dropped her cigarette, and in one fluid motion, she had a small, silver pistol in her hand. Bang! Ivan grunted, grabbing his shoulder, his gun clattering to the ground. Serafina hadn't killed him. She'd winged him. She walked over, her heels clicking on the concrete. She kicked his gun away. "My brother," she said, smoke curling from her lips, "wants you to know that the truce is over. And that this," she gestured to me, "is what started it." She looked at me, trembling on the ground. Her expression was unreadable. "Get up, Alara. You're a Moretti now. Stop groveling. It's embarrassing." "Mark," I whispered, looking at my ex-husband, who was sobbing against a piling. "Oh, him," Serafina said. "Angelo, deal with the rats." What are you going to do?" I asked, finding my voice. Serafina looked at me, surprised. "What do you think we are going to do? He betrayed you. He sold you to our enemy. He threatened your son. In our world, the penalty for that is death." "No," I said. I stood up, my legs shaking. "Please, don't kill him. Not in front of me. Not for me. He's pathetic. He's nothing. But, please." Serafina stared at me. "You are weak. You have this power. And you plead for him. He's Leo's father," I whispered. "And I don't want that on my conscience. Or yours. Or Dante's." Serafina was silent for a long, long time. She looked at Mark, who was crying like a baby. "Fine," she said, her voice full of disgust. "Angelo, break his legs and his hands so he can never work or walk or dial a phone again. And take her." She flicked her chin at Brenda. "Let them both disappear. I want them on a boat to Alaska. Let them enjoy the cold." She grabbed my arm. "You are coming with me. Dante is not happy." That was the understatement of the century. When we got back to the penthouse, the living room was dark, except for one chair. Dante was sitting in it, in the shadows, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "Serafina, Angelo, leave us," he said. His voice was dead, calm. It was the scariest I had ever heard him. They left. I was alone with him. You knew," I whispered. "I knew," he said. You let me go." "I let you go," he said, "because I needed to see. I needed to see what you would do. If you would run. If you would betray me. If you would take the money and go back to him." I wasn't." I cried. I was trying to fix it. I didn't want him to hurt you. I didn't want him to expose you. Fix it." He stood up. He wasn't a man. He was a storm. "Fix it," he roared, and he threw his glass. It shattered against the window, whiskey running down the glass like tears. I screamed. "You went alone. To meet the Petrovs. Do you have any idea what they would have done to you? Do you?" He was in front of me, his hands on my shoulders, shaking me. "I gave you one rule, Alara. One. To stay safe. And you walked right out the door. To protect him. The man who tripped you. The man who abandoned you." I was sobbing, terrified. "You are mine, Alara," he shouted, his face inches from mine, his eyes black with rage. "You belong to me. Your safety is my responsibility. And you spat on it. You spat on me. I'm sorry." I cried. "I'm so sorry, Dante. I love you." It slipped out. It just fell out of my mouth, along with the sobs. He froze. His grip on my shoulders loosened. The rage in his eyes flickered. It was replaced by a raw, wounded confusion. "What?" he whispered. "I love you," I said again, my voice catching. "That's why I went. I didn't want them to hurt you. I love you, Dante." He stared at me, his chest heaving. He looked broken. You cannot love me, Alara," he said, his voice ragged. You saw. I am a monster. You saved me, I whispered, my hand coming up to touch his face. His cheek was rough with stubble. You gave my son a home. You gave him pencils. You make him blue pancakes. Ilara! His voice was a raw plea. I love you. I don't care about the business. I don't care about the Petrovs. I love you. He crushed his mouth to mine. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate. It was raw. It was 5 weeks of tension, and fear and anger, and a love that neither of us had dared to name. It tasted of whiskey and danger, and underneath it all, a desperate, aching tenderness. He wrapped his arms around me, lifting me off my feet, his mouth never leaving mine. He wasn't the capo. He wasn't the shadow. He was just Dante, and he was kissing me as if I were the only air in his lungs. When he finally broke the kiss, he rested his forehead against mine. We were both breathing hard. It was never fake, Ilara, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Not for me. Not from the moment I saw you in that diner, looking so broken, but so strong. I saw you and I knew you were mine. Dante, I was going to tell you. After the Petrov business was handled, I am not a good man, Miyakara. I have done things. Terrible things. I don't care, I whispered, my fingers tangled in his hair. I don't care. I will burn the world down to keep you safe. He murmured against my skin. You and the boy. You are my family. My tutto. My everything. The next morning, I woke up in his bed. He was gone, but his scent was on the pillows. I walked out into the living room. Leo was at the kitchen island drawing. Dante was at the stove, in his suit pants and a t-shirt, spatula in hand. Serafina was at the table, sipping coffee, looking exhausted. Mommy! Leo yelled. Dante's teaching me Italian. Buongiorno. Buongiorno, baby, I said, my voice shy. Dante turned. He looked at me, and he smiled. A real, actual, breathtaking smile. Coffi, mia moglie. My wife. Serafina snorted into her cup. Oh God, it's real. You're actually in love with her. She saved me, Sarah, I said quietly, walking over to her. Serafina looked up, surprised. What? Last night, I asked her not to kill Mark. She listened. She's not like you pretend to be. She's good. Serafina was silent. She looked at Dante, who was watching me, with an expression of such raw adoration that it made my heart ache. Well, Serafina said, standing up, it seems I have a sister-in-law to train. We can't have you running off to meet your ex-husband's Ilara. It's bad for business. She almost smiled. Welcome to the family. God help you. A month later, we were standing in the garden of Antonio's estate. It wasn't a party. It was just us. Me, in a simple white dress. Dante, in a black suit that made him look like a king. Leo, in a tiny tuxedo, holding a small, velvet pillow. Sophia was crying. Serafina was rolling her eyes, but I saw her dab at one. Antonio was beaming. This arrangement, Dante said, taking my hands. It is no longer an arrangement, Ilara. I know, I whispered, tears blurring my vision. I went to the diner that night, he confessed, to intimidate a man, to acquire a prop for my family. I did not expect to find my life, to find my home. He took the real, simple, beautiful wedding band from Leo's pillow. You are my heart, Ilara, he said, his voice thick. You and the boy. You are my tutto. He slid the ring on my finger, right next to the massive diamond. I love you, Dante, I whispered. I love you, Mia Mogli. He kissed me, and this time there were no shadows, just light,